Let's talk about how to freeform corners, crossers, and posts on the far difficulty setting. This is a little bit of a daunting task. It might seem overwhelming to a lot of you as you make the switch from near to far, but do not worry. I'm going to explain clearly how this works, because once you kind of understand why far works the way it does, it becomes second nature. But first, I just want to say thank you so much to you guys that are supporting the channel here into the spring post Super Bowl season. You guys have been crushing the like goals that we've had for all of these videos. I just want to let you know how much I appreciate it. If you guys could give this video a like as well. Again, even if it doesn't necessarily help you guys, it does tell YouTube that this is worthwhile content that can help somebody else out there in the community. I really appreciate all the support. You guys have been really crushing it. You guys hit 600 likes on our man coverage streak video, and that's the reason we're doing today's video. I want to try to bring you guys the content you truly want to see. If you guys wouldn't do me a solid, just make sure you guys hit that like button, drop a comment below, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. Freeforming on far with your crossing routes is a little bit tough. Now, what I'm going to tell you guys that is probably the biggest mental hurdle for a lot of players out there is that when you freeform on near, the concept is that you're steering the ball near your receiver away from them. On far, you're basically steering the ball far from your receiver, and that's where it starts. So you want to kind of tweak it based off of the freeform being further away from the wide receiver. A really good example would be when you throw a crossing route, whether it be against man or zone on near, you typically are going to lead the throw down and away or up and away. Let's start off with the crossing route. Now, traditionally on near, you guys are used to freeforming your throws away from the receiver. After all, the little gray circle that pops up when you go to freeform on near is pretty close to the receiver, and you're only steering the reticle basically to the edge of that gray circle. As we know with far, this is going to be a little bit tougher because not only does the gray circle start further away, but you could leave the gray circle, which makes it far easier to overthrow crossing routes like I did just now. So when I load this up, I want you guys to notice as soon as we start this freeform, look at where that gray circle is. It's a decent amount away from the receiver. Now, if you were to actually zoom in or kind of look at this, there is a little bit of a white triangle that is basically on the outskirts of that circle. That is the starting point for the reticle when I'm going to pull up the freeform. So with this being our starting point on far, you basically are going to have to tweak your pass lead that you are used to using. So for a lot of players on near, you're basically leading the throw out and up to get to the edge of the circle. But on far, you're already starting on the edge of the circle and you can leave that circle. So when it comes to throwing a lot of these crossing routes, it's very, very important that you understand where the reticle starts. And that is our first lesson. And this is going to apply to every route that we're going to throw. If you guys remember our man coverage video, I talked about the 4 corners, or the 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and 8 o'clock that we like to throw all of our pass leads to. Generally speaking, that's a great way to kind of use your crossing routes, corners, and posts when you're passing on far as well. And the general rule of thumb is you're going to pass lead down and inside relative to the receiver. So if a receiver is running a crossing route from the left side of the screen across to the right, you are basically going to throw the ball down and to the left, which would be our 8 o'clock pass lead. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to set some zone drops here, and we're going to freeform this against a cover 3. So I'm going to use this crossing route. And what you're going to notice is when I freeform this, I'm going to freeform this to about 8 o'clock. And what this is going to do is this is going to put it in a spot where I can throw the ball underneath of that player. So now we're back to our instant replay, and I want to kind of pull up the moment of this. So as soon as we go to start this throw, I'm going to pause it. So again, you see that crossing route, that little white kind of hue that's on the outside of the top right of the gray circle, that's our starting point. If you were to pretend that little white shade on the outside of the gray circle were the center of a clock, and you were to draw a line straight from that down through the middle of the orange circle where my reticle is, where would that hour hand be pointing on a clock? That's an 8 o'clock pass lead, which is traditionally not the way you're used to freeforming your crossing routes when it comes to playing on near. So this is why a lot of players, when they go to throw these, they're like, okay, well, all I need to do here for this particular route to work is just kind of pass lead this kind of down towards about 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. Well, the truth is it's more like 8 o'clock. And a lot of times when you watch players play online, you're not paying attention to where that little white mark is and then where the green dot is on our reticle relative to the white mark to figure out what the exact pass lead actually is on this. So this is how we can kind of throw this ball in underneath of a deep zone with a KO ability and prevent them from breaking on it. And the same could be true going the other direction. So if I wanted to throw a crossing route here to Travis Kelce, again, the premise of this is going to be that I'm going to be throwing this basically down and inside. So you're going to see here, I throw this down and it basically went to 4 o'clock. Now, again, the pressure that you hold the stick is very, very important. If I am kind of jamming the stick, it doesn't mean that we can't throw it. I mean, I'll hold this down as hard as I can, and you see that's still a very catchable ball. That's a full pass lead, holding the stick down as hard as I can. But if you really want to get this in stride, basically what you're going to learn to do is be a little bit pressure sensitive. If you guys don't know what blues are in Madden, it's the amount of time that you spend holding the button when you go to throw a ball to a receiver underneath or whatever, and you try to get the blue meter. So you see right there, I held it long enough and it gave me a green, but then on this rep, I might throw it and it gives me a blue, for instance. Those blues, and you see right there, I completed that pass, are basically the amount of time that you want to kind of steer when you're trying to put a little bit of touch or take something off of the throw. So if you were to kind of think about the amount of time it takes to do this here, you see right here, I was able to leave that gray circle, which is not allowed on near. And I basically was able to get that conservative catch underneath of that defensive back. So with this, when you're trying to apply a little bit of touch to these throws and you don't really want to throw it too far outside the circle, that is how you do it. That timing that you spend to get a blue is about how long you hold the stick when you're throwing on far. You see right here, leaving that circle is the reason I'm able to catch this underneath of the KO and get down without dropping the ball. So basically what we're doing here as we get out of crossers and let's start to talk about corners is kind of thinking about, okay, the reticle is starting far from the receiver. I'm dragging it to a spot the receiver can get to. So if you know that you're throwing a crossing route and it's starting up and outside of the receiver and you want to put it on his body, you're basically aiming down and inside towards the receiver, even though the ball's still going to lead him away, if that makes sense. So let's go ahead and kind of talk about corner routes, because this is really quite great, especially when you're talking about how on near, oftentimes when you want to pull a zone, you have a streak to the far outside of the field. Well, that's because that's on near. You have to pull that guy and then you go and you can throw your little corner route and, you know, this is going to be just fine. The cool thing about being on far is that I can freeform the ball without a pull route underneath of an outside third, no problem. And again, it's going to be the same premise. Basically, you know that when you go to do a freeform, you are going to be throwing the ball basically down and inside, and you see that that KO doesn't turn around and get back to us. And this is going to be kind of the general way that we throw these. So if I were throwing a corner route to the left, basically we know that I can throw this as a down and inside ball. So basically like a little 4 o'clock, and you see that I'm able to put that on his numbers. Obviously right there, we're able to pull the zone, so we don't really need that. But again, this is why basically on far, you have this freedom to be able to throw the ball so well. I mean, I could just hard pass lead this underneath of an outside third, and you see that they're not turning around and making this play happen whatsoever. So there's no need for pull routes when you're on far. That's one of the best parts, honestly. And this applies to post routes as well, whether it's a hot route master post or a stock post like the one found on this play. You're going to be able to basically understand that, okay, the reticle's starting further away, so I need to steer it back towards the receiver to be able to put it on his body in the middle of the field to avoid KOs. This is kind of the same premise. And if you're looking to hit that receiver in stride, then it becomes about understanding that, okay, it's starting up and out on the right, so I'm just going to baby tap it down to allow me to not have to worry about basically it leaving too far or making it so I have to go chase it and fall down while catching it. Again, you start to put that half pressure into it. That's where you're going to start to throw these correctly. So once you have that frame of reference of where the gray little outline starts on your circle, now it's just about steering it relative to that rather than trying to look at the receiver and lead the receiver. It's all about where that white mark starts on the gray circle. So when it comes to all of your throws, look at the gray circle, find where the white mark is, and then your pass lead is basically aimed from that. Don't think of it as the white mark starts in the middle of the gray circle. It starts on the perimeter of the gray circle, and that's why it allows you to leave it or drag it inside back within the circle to make the same throws that all the players can make on near. So that is how I freeform literally everything, whether it's a streak against man, a streak against zone, throwing underneath and clicking on against KOs, crossers, corners, posts. You guys get the gist. This is something that will take about a week to 10 days ways to truly get into a spot where you feel like you can throw every route. And then from there, you're only going to get better. And like I've said since the very beginning, I do feel like near is the easier mechanic to learn. It comes with less user error. It's something that you can screw up and still be rewarded quite frequently. Far is one of those mechanics that is a little bit higher level of mastery, but it's very clear by looking at the numbers on these videos, all of you that are liking this is something you want to learn. So I just ask you guys to stay patient with this. You're about a week to 10 days away from really getting this down. Take your lumps, get better, because while the floor on near is higher, the ceiling is way higher on far. Even if it has a little bit lower floors, you screw things up while you're beginning. You will not stay screwing it up. You're going to learn from your mistakes. And you're going to get really good at this. And you're going to be kind of questioning why you didn't try this to begin with. So I hope you guys enjoyed this series. We're going to be doing a little bit different content, but I'm going to stay dropping some fire for you here on the channel. So make sure you guys are subscribed. I will see you guys later. Until then, this is Zan. Get in the lab and good luck.